It's a big day for Maruti Suzuki at Auto Expo 2023. They've launched two SUVs, or rather unveiled two SUVs, and these are global unveils. The significant part, it's an SUV. They are both SUVs, and for a car maker that brought us the humble 800, it's come a long way. Clearly, the company is transitioning, or let's say adding to its portfolio with SUVs. They've been strong in the lower end of the market, but SUVs is where they have fallen behind. But Maruti Suzuki is hoping to change all that with these models. And talking to me about this and more, we have Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director and Head of the overall business of Maruti Suzuki. Shashank, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
So, two big unveils, both SUVs. So, I think it's like, to be honest, making up for lost time.
Partly you can say that, but I think if you are more charitable, probably you will also see that we have identified a couple of segments within the overall SUV segment, which is currently not being catered to by the industry. And I think that is where we believe we'll get additional volumes.
So it's quite interesting. I think SUVs are growing and they're coming in all shapes and sizes, all types. So it's really, the whole segment is, would you say, fragmenting? There are a lot of niches also being formed purely with SUVs. This is the way forward?
Absolutely. So if you look at data for the past 30 years, not only for India but across the world, you will see whenever there is a growth in a segment or in a market, you will see sub-segments emerging. For example, on a macro level, I can tell you that when Maruti 800 was launched 40 years back, everybody used the Maruti 800. Whether you were a politician or you were a businessman or a student or a housewife, everybody wanted to use it.
It was a staple car of India.
It was the staple car of India. But as the economy grew and the volumes grew, you could see specific segments emerging. And then we brought in, for example, the Zen. And people said, you had the Maruti 800, how can you sell a vehicle which was at that time double the price of 800? So I remember it was 3.4 lakhs, then 1.7 lakh was the price of 800.
With the jelly bean styling.
Yeah, with the jelly bean styling. So it sold very well. Then when Desire came, people said, oh, how can you sell Desire? It's a small, sedan, and sedans are supposed to be big. Or Ertiga even, which was, 4.2 or 4.3 meter. And at that time, we had much bigger MPVs. So sub-segments emerge. The entry SUV segment, the compact SUV segment, actually was just 3-4% in 2015. Today, it is the largest sub-segment in the industry.
Right.
So the segmentation changes and sub-segments emerge, and I believe this segment is now the largest, the compact SUV segment, and we have seen the emergence of sub-segments within this as well. And Fronx and the Jimny is actually positioned in exactly those segments which have emerged.
Right. You talked about the SUV segment. I mean, I would ask you, do you think even the term SUV is used rather loosely for any car which has got slightly muscular styling and a high bonnet? And is SUV a very aspirational word, or even positioning vis-a-vis, let's say, crossover?
Yeah, so I think every country has its own sort of cultural connotation. And I believe in India, there is this connotation that a muscular vehicle with a high ground clearance and maybe a upright driving position is an SUV, whereas in some countries, clearly, unless you are a 4x4, you will not say this vehicle is an SUV. So clearly in our country, it's not so much of off-roading that 4x4s are being used or SUVs are being used. In fact, most SUVs in our country are two-wheel thing. Right. So yes, you are right. A bit of that is there. You do call many cars SUVs, which the Puritans will say, this is not right to do so.
Right. And just looking at Maruti's entry into the SUV market, I mean, product-wise, honestly, what I've seen, fantastic. Both Fronx and Jimny, really on dot in that sense. Jimny also has a lifestyle vehicle. But I want to ask you on the brand, Maruti Suzuki as a brand. Now look, 40 years you've been makers of affordable hatchbacks.
Yes.
Do you think there could be a brand perception issue? Because Maruti Suzuki, you talk about it, you think of affordable cars. Maybe you talk of Mahindra, you think straight away of SUVs. Tatas, you might even think of trucks, for example. Do you think there is this little bit of perception which might be a challenge to overcome, or do you think today's world is not so stuck up on stereotypes?
No, clearly it's a challenge. Clearly, There is, I mean, if it was not a challenge, it would have been very surprising, because that's the story of brands which are market leaders across categories in any country. So you are right. When we started first, our theme, the purchase criteria for consumers was more value, about fuel efficiency, about after sale service, maintenance cost being low, etc., etc., spare parts cost, and so on and so forth, for which Maruti was excellent. And we actually established our name and brand, and our tagline used to be "Count on us." That is like more towards reliability, good quality, of course, and reliability. But as the economy grows, as in any country, so India has grown very. You do see more aspiration coming in, at least with a certain segment of people.
Right.
And clearly, the car buying criteria started moving towards design and aspiration and features
and performance,
and performance and so on and so forth. But I must say there exists two clear categories, two clear Indias. One which is a slightly, I would say,
urban-centric.
Yeah. And exactly, and that's one which is like more still Bharat, if you can call it, is about
tier 2, tier 3,
tier 3, that type of same buying criteria which continues. It is related to, of course, cultural factors, relative income levels, the exposure that you have, and so on and so forth. But Maruti is we want 50% of the market share. At last 4 years we had 50% of the market share. Only in the last 2 years we have dropped down to below 45. Clearly we have to address both. We cannot afford to leave any of the two. This portion, the small car segment, is still substantial. It is about 36% of the market.
Right.
Still very substantial. It was 11,60,000 last year in a market of 30 lakh. This year it is going to end up with about 13,70,000. So 13,70,000 by any imagination is not a small number.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Maruti Suzuki has to be present. Clearly, we have 70% market share. So
right. And I think what helps you that others are vacating it, which makes the case to be in there even stronger. And
should the market turn now,
exactly.
For example, as personally, I expect that given the demographics of our country, given the fact that new people come into workforce, given the fact that 45 to 48% are first-time buyers. In fact, if you see the last 25 years data, first-time buyers are 47, 48 because we are a young nation.
That's right. Low motorization also given the population.
Even today, we are at 30 per thousand.
Right.
The upside is huge.
Correct.
In fact, I think we will have to continue to sustain our overall market share in this segment. But yes, the SUV segment has also grown. It's now 42% of the market.
Right.
So clearly, you cannot ignore that either.
Correct.
So it's a story. I mean, you will have to focus on two.
It's a two-pronged kind of word.
So it's not about
either or. It's both. Yeah, understood.
So, yes.
But Shashank, I just want to, one thing which I've noticed is interesting is that looking at both Fronx and Jimny, aspirational and a little bit more, I would say, even energy in the products. To be honest, earlier the sense what got is you played everything with a very safe and straight bat. Would it be fair to say that being a market leader tends to be the most risk averse because you'll have the maximum to lose and you wouldn't really take chances that others would? I mean, you're market leader, but this goes against you. But now you are taking a little bit more, I wouldn't say risk, but getting into segments which get out of your typical comfort zone.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair assessment because, globally, and I remember one very, it's a best-selling book of the late 90s. I forget the name. It talks about this very fact that market leaders don't want disruptions. And they are market leaders because they are good.
Disruptions.
because they are good at what is happening today.
Right.
And therefore, they may be efficient, but may not in future be the best. And that is also their interest in not changing the status quo because they are the best at the status quo.
Right.
And that is why the book which talks about that, those companies which do not actually play because disruption will come anyway. If you don't prepare for it, then those don't survive, like Nokia or BlackBerry or Kodak.
Yeah.
So these are examples which are quoted.
Correct.
So in Maruti Suzuki, what we have realized is, and we have had extensive discussions on this, clearly, I wouldn't say that we are playing in a very cavalier or aggressive way, but the game itself has changed. So, and there are two games going on. There is the 5-day test cricket going on, where you have to play with the straight bat.
Right.
And then there is a T20 which has come. You can't really play straight in a T20 game. Right. So, you will have to take those,
punts.
Yes. So, that's what we are doing.
Right. Absolutely. And Shashank, the last question, 2023. You've got two launches this year. You've had the Grand Vitara, you've had the Brezza, 4 SUVs, fresh out of the box.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to be a defining year for Maruti in many ways? One is volume, you're market leaders. Do you think you see market share coming back? And also this huge pivot to SUVs, which would probably be a big shift for Maruti, being, looking at your history right now. So 2023, defining year, how do you see the whole year panning out? And also the challenges ahead, there's RD, there's all this thing happening.
Yeah, so clearly if you look at the 2022 calendar year, the industry ended with 3.8 million, highest ever, but only 14% above the previous highest, which was achieved 4 years earlier, 2018, which was about 3.3 million. Clearly, growth rates have not been so great, and going forward, as you said, there could be additional cost elements coming from regulatory stringency. And maybe material cost, who knows. It's also, you could see supply chain disruptions as well. But overall, and people are talking of a global recession, although I am not able to catch it in India, I know data is catching it in India, the interest rates have gone up. 80% of the sale in our industry is through retail financing, and those rates are going up. Clearly, these are red flags, and therefore people are saying next year there could be a flat or no growth, or some people are saying go up to as much as 7.5%. We at Maruti Suzuki are actually a little bit more optimistic side. If there is no big disruption, we are looking at 4.05 to 4.1 million, which is about a 7.5% growth from the current year. Right. So it is a defining year, because there we expect the SUV portion to be about 45%. Right. And we have, as you said, 4 SUVs, and our MD actually announced today, and I think it was, I am not sure how much was it for the consumption of the media as much as it was for me, because he said we have to be number 1 in SUV in 23-24. Right. So that's like an added pressure, but it's very much possible. By the way, we are number 1 in MUV space.
Right. Just to wrap up, I think you spoke about recession everywhere, Indian car market still doing well. Do you think also we've seen a slight mindset change in buyers post-COVID, in the fact that they are willing to accept higher prices for cars as a new norm? There's no more sticker shock. I mean, cars across the board have become expensive. Look at your base Alto also, from where it was and where it is now. I mean, is this a new baseline with which customers have accepted, and they're just saying, okay, this is the price of cars and we are fine with it? Or do you still think there's that much price sensitivity? Still, I'm sure there is, but there seems to be a little bit more elasticity as far as price goes, just looking at the way customers are reacting to, the demand is there despite the higher prices.
Yeah, so I think it's like a tale of two cities, or in fact a tale of many cities. Yeah. So you have a price elasticity high on the lower end.
That's right.
And lower on the upper end.
Correct. And rural markets are still slightly stressed, and the lower end is still stressed. But I'm saying at the upper end, there's more elasticity.
Yes. But it is not just about the lower end thing. The thing is how I see it is. Anyway, everybody knows that the lower end, the elasticity is more, of price elasticity is more, and the upper less. But there is a economic logic for it. Car buying is actually a discretionary product, which means it is the proclivity to buy is proportionate to your disposable income, and disposable income is net of your costs core expenses like food or clothes, etc. Now, if you have high inflation and a higher cost at this, the lower end, the disposable income goes down faster. Right. Whereas in the other side, it does not, because the consumption is only limited. So obviously, then it appears that the market has shifted to the bigger vehicles, but may not be so. Because once the inflation comes down and the higher disposable income transports itself to the lower end as well, then you might actually see a bounce back with an equally high number, because price elasticity is there. So it has come down suddenly, it can also go up suddenly.
Right.
Yeah.
No, Shashank, that's been great, and congratulations. I'm sure 2023 is going to be a great year for Maruti. They've kicked it off in grand style at the Auto Expo. Two all new SUVs globally unveiled. Last thing, any hints on when things are going to hit the market?
These
Yeah,
vehicles?
yeah.
Yes, so we are looking at about around 2.5 months from now.
Right.
Yeah.
For both?
For both.
Right.
With some
Gap
lag, because we are just finalizing that, but approximately, yes.
Right. Okay, super. So first half of this year is something which we can look at, and then you've got the whole year ahead of you to rake in the numbers. You're smiling, so I think the pressure is that the pressure the MD has put on you is maybe not so much pressure.
No, so I was not smiling when MD said that. So now I'm smiling because you're giving me some positive energy.
But I'm
Thanks
sure
so
it'll
much.
be great.
Thanks
Wish you
so
all the
much.
best. Thank you so much. Thank you.